कुमार स्वामी नायक गोंगो लिबू लटोका रेडियो फीजी 2 में पुराना गाना लगे हमें बहुत अच्छा लगे।
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन।
Good evening, Fiji. In this bulletin, Housing Authority report reveals shortfalls. PM wants children's future secured. And offenders need to be given second chance.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Jackie Spate.
A special investigation into the Housing Authority has found that it has lost its purpose. Housing Minister Pramila Kumar has today made public the findings of the Housing Authority's Special Investigation Report and the Public Inquiry Committee report. Kritika Kumar with the details.
According to the report, the Housing Authority has serious failures in governance, risk management and compliance.
It operated without any direction and due diligence. It did not follow its policies and procedures that were there in place. And the policies and procedures, as you know, in any organization is there to guide the staff. Right? It is to bring about transparency in any organization.
It was discovered that staff were using the demand survey form as an application form, and the investigation could find no evidence that allocation of lots were from the authority database.
The general public was not aware that the demand survey form would later become an application form, because the demand survey form very clearly stated that this is not an application form. So technically you can say that the lot allocation was done based on the demand survey form, but not through an application form.
There was no independent income verification of applicants before lots were awarded, and a handful of them are related to former Housing Authority staff.
A number of current and former staff of the Housing Authority and their relatives were allocated lots. There is lack of documentation to confirm whether adequate disclosure of interest were made by the staff.
The public inquiry report has also highlighted numerous issues, including staff not understanding the eligibility criteria, losing the application forms for client and having them reapply.
The public inquiry report clearly showed that the people have been made to run around by the staff of Housing Authority and yet have not been granted lots till today. Most of the public complaints were in regards to poor level of service provided by Housing Authority staff.
The Housing Authority Board has been directed to completely overhaul the organization, its internal processes, application methods and staffing. The eligibility of the CEO and senior managers will also be reassessed. Kritika Kumar, FBC News.
One new border quarantine case of COVID-19 has been recorded in the country. The patient is a 57-year-old Fijian citizen who arrived in Nadi on Saturday, October 24th. The man was on a repatriation flight from Nairobi, which made stops in Dubai, Kuala Lumpur and Auckland en route. The Ministry of Health says, as with all prior border quarantine cases, this latest patient has been under strict quarantine conditions since arriving into the country. He began the compulsory 14-day quarantine at a government-designated facility. The ministry says the patient has not displayed any symptoms since his arrival, and the entry test was conducted on day 2 of quarantine. The man remains in stable condition and has been transferred to the isolation ward at the Lautoka Hospital. The overall number of COVID-19 cases in Fiji stands at 34, and this new case is the only active case. The support towards children with special needs is something Prime Minister Vurenge Bainimarama says he will continue to champion. Speaking during the Golden Jubilee celebrations at Lautoka School for Special Education, Bainimarama stresses that these students will never be left behind. Details with Philippe Naikaso.
Prime Minister says that when he looks around the school, he sees children and what they have overcome.
And the students of Lautoka School for Special Education are living proof that all of Fijian children deserve to be treated as equals and deserve to be given the tools and support they need to succeed in this world.
It was a joyous occasion for the students and staff to have the Prime Minister at the Golden Jubilee celebrations.
The students of the school are strong, they are capable, and they do not deserve any stigma, but rather the support they need to thrive in Fijian society.
Bainimarama also commended staff for pouring their heart and soul into giving each student the individual care and quality education they need.
Proud moment for us because coinciding with the country's independence for 50 years and our school having its 50th Golden Jubilee, that is a milestone achievement for our school.
The students were also given the new 50-cent commemorative coin. There's 129 students and 29 staff of Lotoko School for Special Education. Philippe Naikaso, FBC News.
Attorney General and Minister for Economy Ayasad Kayum says there needs no reason for a convicted person not to be accepted back into the community after serving their sentence. Speaking at the Fiji Corrections Service Yellow Ribbon Employment Expo today, Said Kayum says the Yellow Ribbon Project is engaging with the community to allow the integration of these Fijians back into society. Apanisa Wangarandovo reports.
The Minister for Economy says if people are treated with dignity when they are convicted, they will also learn to respect other people, and this helps in rebuilding their lives.
And a lot of these people actually do want to reform and they do want to live a normal life like you and I. And there should be absolutely no reason as to why they shouldn't.
Sayed Kayum encourages the private sector to employ these Fijians, especially that they have been trained and have developed some skill sets under the program.
I'm sure many of you have benefited from the skill sets of those people who have come out from correction facilities and now are working for you or have worked for you, because you are giving them another chance.
Karen Williams, a former inmate, says the Yellow Ribbon Project helped her find employment, and she also calls for more public acceptance.
At the end of the day, we all need a second chance, and we all learn from it, and we just need to move forward. And the main thing that the general public, the community needs to understand is once we've been in the system, nobody really wants to go back.
The Fiji Corrections Service has noted a huge drop in reoffending over the past few years since the inception of the project. Previously, 50% of offenders reoffended, but that is no longer the case. Apinisawangirdobu, FBC News.
Up ahead, FRA sounds out warning. An alleged driver killers remanded.
Baik tu dia jadi mereka tahu रेडियो फिजी बहुत रेडियो फिजी रोज सुनता हूँ.
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
The Fiji Roads Authority is warning motorists about road safety, especially when passing through places where works are in progress. The Minister of Infrastructure says drivers who disregard the road signs put in place by FRA contractors are putting innocent lives at risk. Koroi Tandulala reports.
The Fiji Roads Authority says some drivers have been found speeding through sections of the road where work is being carried out.
The one biggest thing raised by the contractors is the motorists not following the precautionary signs that has been placed for their safety and the contractor's safety too.
The concern with the motorists driving very fast where there was work being done. So I think it's very important that people take cognizance of the road signs. When the road sign says 50, make sure you travel at 50. Ask us to slow down, slow down.
Minister for Infrastructure Chone Usamate says the careless action of reckless drivers is also costing taxpayers.
Because if we don't do that, we destroy infrastructure, then we have to pay for it again, and that money comes from taxpayers. And we also save lives. So I think encourage, when you see the road signs there, follow them.
The minister is calling on travellers to be cautious when travelling during the next 6 months, as FRA contractors will be out doing roadworks around the country. Koroi Tandulala, FBC News.
3 men who allegedly assaulted an Ausori bus driver resulting in his death were further remanded by the Suva High Court today. Mikaele Lawaniale Teki Rokondaku Nivosa and Isikeli Langimbalavu each face 1 count of murder. It's alleged that the 3 assaulted the bus driver at the Nausori bus stand on the 3rd of this month. He died in hospital a week after the alleged incident. The state has now sought 21 days to file information and disclosures, and the matter has been adjourned to the 13th of November. Former Fijian Holdings Limited Group Chief Executive Norzab Farid's trial will commence on the 1st of December. The matter was called in the Suva Magistrates Court this morning. Farid is charged with 3 counts of indecent assault. It's alleged that he committed the offences against 2 female employees of the FHL Group. The prosecution informed the court that their first witness is still stuck in South Korea and is checking on the availability of flights to return to the country. They also said that if the witness is not able to come to Fiji for the trial, then they will try to get evidence through a video link. The matter has been adjourned to December 1st. As Pinktober rounds up to its final week, more businesses have poured in their support for the Fiji Cancer Society and the fight against cancer. RC Manubai held their Pinktober High Tea fundraiser earlier today. Regional Manager Central North Shanil Patel says it is important for corporate entities to help out where possible. He says it is difficult for organisations such as the Fiji Cancer Society to accumulate funds for worthy causes. Thus, businesses should always reach out and help. Patel adds they have in the past helped other non-governmental organisations like WOW's Kids Fiji as part of their corporate social responsibility.
Simanova has embarked on, reaching out to the community and ensuring that all lives are taken care of. We understand there are some less fortunate people in the community, in the country that can't afford or cannot attain, medical treatment, especially regarding cancer. There's no cure for cancer.
And turning to world news, 3 people have died in a knife attack at a church in Nice, France, in what French President Emmanuel Macron said was a terrorist attack. Anti-terror prosecutors have opened an investigation into the killings, and France has raised its national security alert to its highest level. And it's business time now with Ritika.
Thanks, Jackie. Coming up, travel bubble discussions carry on. And in growing Fiji, master builders eye expansion. Stay with us.
Pula natang ko aproslan ngarse, go erkraki. Do televizyon na varong na Radio Fiji 1 nandomo ibiti.
Radio Fiji 1 nandomo ibiti.
Welcome back. The Fijian Competition and Consumer Commission has announced that new fuel prices will come into effect from Sunday. The petroleum prices have decreased across the board. Motor spirit will decrease from $1.98 to $1.92 per litre. Premix will retail at $1.55, a reduction of 6 cents. Kerosene drops from $1.05 to $1 per litre, a decrease of 5 cents per litre. And diesel will retail at $1.54, a reduction of 9 cents. LPG prices will also decrease. A 4.5 kg cylinder will now cost $11.49, a decrease of 17 cents. A 12 kg cylinder will retail at $30.63, a decrease of 46 cents. The price of a 13 kg cylinder drops from $33.69 to $33.18, a decrease of 51 cents. Bulk gas decreases from $2.15 to $2.14. Discussions on the travel bubble with Australia and New Zealand have reached a sensitive stage. Minister for Economy Ayaz Sayed Kayum says as a COVID-19 contained nation, Fiji is negotiating from a positive position of advantage. Edwin Nunn reports.
A team of permanent secretaries are in constant discussion with Australia and New Zealand to try and open up commercial travel.
We have to ensure that the health measures are still maintained to ensure that we remain COVID contained.
Fiji is offering to allow quarantine-free entry for countries which are declared COVID-19 contained, but authorities won't reveal which countries may make the list.
You have to be very, very particular and specific, as you know that you can very quickly lose that status, and we have maintained a very high standard, and so the work is progressing on that.
I think that discussion is a fairly delicate one. It needs to stay where it is right now for us to be able to have a free discussion about it. I do not wish to make any commitment to any country at the moment about who we're looking at.
As far as talks of opening up borders, Fiji's track record with managing COVID-19 cases means we are in a position to call the shots.
Coming to Fiji, have holiday in Fiji upon their return, they should not have to go into quarantine upon their return to their country because Fiji is COVID contained. So they cannot pick up anything in Fiji. That's our position.
Fiji is the #1 destination that everybody wants to come to. Even post-COVID, there will be a massive amount of tourists that will want to come to Fiji because of the way we have dealt with it.
Fiji has the upper hand in terms of our coronavirus situation, and while the government is keen to get tourism going again, it isn't going to drop the ball on COVID-19 containment. Edwin Nand, FBC News.
Banks are being more stringent with their loans, according to the Reserve Bank of Fiji board following its meeting yesterday. RBF Governor Arif Ali says credit conditions have tightened due to the current elevated risk levels and depressed economic environment. However, he says, given the high level of liquidity in the financial system, the cost of funds for commercial banks and lending rates have declined relative to last year. Ali says this should augur well for the economy during the recovery phase. The governor adds domestic economic activity in the months ahead will be supported by the government initiatives in the 2020-21 national budget, coupled with the accommodative monetary policies of the RBF and various lending facilities. Headline inflation fell further to -3.2% last month from -3% in August. Sinifa from HFC Bank is here now for a look at the money markets and how they fared.
Looking at the latest in the currency market, the US dollar index rose to a 4-week high overnight due to euro's decline and US data. Data last night showed the US economy grew at a record pace for the third quarter, aided by an improving trend in jobless claims, while scars from coronavirus recession still lingered. US gross domestic product rebounded at a 33.1% annualized rate last quarter, the fastest pace since the government started keeping records in 1947. Meanwhile, the Bank of Japan kept monetary policy steady in a widely expected decision. In the central bank's quarterly report, its median forecast for real GDP was revised downward to a 5.5% decline in fiscal year 2020. In Europe, the European Central Bank opted to hold interest rates steady and keep its monetary policy unchanged despite the reimposition of fresh lockdown measures across the continent. But the ECB hinted that additional policy action in the Eurozone could come as soon as December. That's a wrap from HFC Bank for this week. Vinaka.
Here are today's local exchange rates. As set early this morning, the Fiji dollar continues to rise compared to the currencies of our two major trading partners, Australia and New Zealand. It also showed gains against the euro and the Japanese yen, but lost ground versus other currencies we cover. Prices were mixed on the commodities market. Oil continued its downward trend at just above $36 per barrel. Gold was down, closing at $1,871 per ounce, and silver rose slightly to $23.39 per ounce. The Master Builders Association is working on bringing more members under its umbrella. President Vijay Raghavan says there are a number of cowboy contractors who are giving the construction industry a bad name. The association has 38 members. Raghavan adds there were instances where contracts are broken, builders have not finished the work, and the consumers suffer. Raghavan says belonging to Master Builders is an assurance to the industry that every member is committed to maintaining the highest standards through quality and fair workplace practices. He highlighted that they will not tolerate questionable activities in the association. The association held its membership drive earlier this week. And that's it from Business Tonight. Tali is here with the Friday Sports.
Thanks, Ritika. Good evening in Sports Tonight. Underdog tag for jet setters. And improvement in women's football. This and more coming up.
Bula FM number 2 NSR.
Bula FM number 2 NSR.
The Nandi rugby side have tagged themselves as underdogs for the last challenge of the Fairbrother Trophy against Tailevu tomorrow. Although Tailevu has never won a Fairbrother title from Nandi, the Jet Setters will be out to give them a good run. Karleni Tavi has more.
Defeated Nandronga, 11 points to
Nandi is aware that Tailevu is a class team, especially during big games.
Tailevu is a very, very good team. We're definitely not taking them lightly. Matter of fact, we're going in as underdog. Tailevu, if you look at the trend in the second half of the Skipper Cup competition, they are the form teams of the second half of the competition. Likewise, Nandi, and they've got a very good coaching staff.
Tailevu has a mammoth task ahead as they face Nandi in the final Fairbrother Challenge.
We know Tailevu believe in themselves. We have faith in God, and I know come the day we will overcome that big mountain. And we will cover the giant.
Nandi executive member Jeff Tamata says Nandi is a young team compared to Tailevu, who have experienced players.
When it comes to Fairbrother, like I've said before, when it comes to Fairbrother, all teams are different. Tailevu has the history of Fairbrother. Tailevu has never beaten Nandi, but we're definitely not taking that on board. We know that Tailevu is a very, very, very good team. They proved it last week.
Nandi hosts Tailevu at Prince Charles Park tomorrow afternoon at 3. Karleni Tavi, FBC Sports.
Most of the Flying Fijians players are now in camp in France ahead of the Autumn Nations Cup.
The players like Nakarawa and Dolakoto, we had received reports that Nakarawa might not be joining camp, but we have good confirmation that he'll be marching into camp. All the coaching panel are now in France.
All Blacks number 8 Hoskin Sotutu says his late paid-back attitude started to change during the Super Rugby pre-season. The increased participation of age group players in the Vodafone Women's Inter-District Championship is a positive sign for the Fiji Football Association. The association has been pushing for the development of women's football, and the tournament has provided the platform to boost girls' participation. Officials say they have seen a vast improvement in the performance of the players compared to previous years.
The elite players from the 16s and 19s would be in there, the senior women team. So these players have played more games. They have had a lot of game time before coming into the IDC, which is an improvement.
The participation of these age group players is the investment Fiji FA needed in the quest to develop women's football.
As they go through the different age groups, and then, you know, obviously then joining the national team, they would have had quite a bit of game time and also the exposure. Now that they're all playing at the IDC, you know, they're playing in a really big ground and they feel like they are, you know, really playing football with a real audience that's watching them.
But to make progress, the players will also need the support of fans during tournaments and competitions.
You know, you have really strong teams like Lambasa, Ba, Rewa and Suva playing, and they have huge fan bases. And it's sad to see that it's not reflected when you look at the grandstands.
We'd like to ask the fans, especially the women and the families of those who are playing, to come out and support their daughters, their sisters.
With the semi-finals of the Vodafone IDC to commence on Sunday, Fiji FA is calling on fans and families to show their support towards the players. The University of the South Pacific volleyball team is eyeing to reach the top 8 spots in the Eastern Central Volleyball Club Championship. The two-day tournament kicked off today on a high note with 60 teams vying to become the central champions. For USP rep Nathaniel Ngoneali, volleyball is an escape while staying fit at the same time. Ngoneali represented Fiji in the 2018 Oceania Games and knows how intense competition can be when it comes to tournaments like the club championship.
Every assessor that comes out today, it just brings in their A game. Like, definitely you really need to perform. You really need to show the national selectors as well are around. So you really need to show them a different kind of skill game you have,
On to our play of the day. In the third round of the 2020 Zozo Championship, Justin Thomas drives his tee shot to the cut path right of the fairway. He would pull off an impressive shot from the path and go on to save par. That's it from sports tonight. Coming up in the world of the weird and the wonderful, gifts that are in demand for the upcoming holiday season. Details after the break.
बाइक तो दिल्ली में रहता हूँ और रेडियो फीजी रोज सुनता हूँ.
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
The brains behind some of New Zealand's best tech ideas now have a major advantage over their international competitors. 4 companies have won early access to 5G to develop their ideas. And Angie joins us now with the latest in weather.
Good evening and welcome to the Weather World. It's finally Friday, a wonderful one too, and it went smoothly. Oh, it's the last Friday of October too, and if we were to analyze it, the weather for the month wasn't bad at all. Now in the west, the conditions were great and sunny. Eastwards from Peck Harbour to Suva, super sunny and warm, so it's a bit confusing at times that while the sun was out and about, it starts pouring. And up north, how about a swim or a dive? Why? Because the weather was worth it. At sea, southeast winds 15 to 20 knots, moderate seas. Turning to the tides, low tide at 12:13 a.m. with high tide at 6:18 a.m. Sunrise will be at 5:27. For tomorrow, a few of those wild wandering showers will come around, but will it stay? That's up to the winds, but we won't have anything major, so we are good for Saturday. Tomorrow's temps, Lambasa will turn up its heat at 32 degrees. And looking further on to Sunday and Monday, the public holiday to commemorate Prophet Muhammad's birthday, we shall have great weather. That's all from the Weather World. Have a wonderful long weekend. It's back to Jackie.
You have a wonderful long weekend too, Angie. And in Fiji and Pulse tonight, we asked, can Thailevel win the Fairbrother Sullivan Trophy?
Yes, I think Thailand will, can win the Fairbrother Trophy because they have a very strong team.
Oh yes, 100%.
Yes, I think Thailand can win the Fairbrother.
If they believe in winning, then they will definitely win. Push Thailand.
Recapping the main stories for tonight, Housing Authority report reveals shortfalls. PM wants children's future secured. And Nandi Rugby takes underdog tag for Fairbrother. Now for these stories and others, tune in daily to our sister radio station Gold FM. Our poll question we're asking, should fireworks be allowed during Diwali? Visit our FBC website to answer. And on to our shot of the day, last one for the week, especially with the long weekend coming up. Something like this will delight all who want a little bit of rest and relaxation. Fiji surely has a grand place we can all take advantage of. And be sure to send us newsworthy pictures to email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj, via Facebook page FBC News and our Twitter page at FBC_news. That's your news for tonight. Until tomorrow, from the team and I, have a safe and enjoyable weekend. Ni modamanda.
कुमार सानी नायक है गोंगवा लिबू लटोका रेडियो फीजी 2 में पुराना गाना लगे हमें बहुत अच्छा लगे.
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.